Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for being here this evening. I have to tell you, I'm very excited, but I'm also a little bit nervous. This is just going to be a great opening. It's always a little strange because here I am alone in the gallery, but I want you to know that there are actually hundreds of you online who are watching. Most of you are watching from your living room, and I just wanted you to know that you're not alone. If you feel that way, there are so many people who really are so anxious to see the exhibition, and thank you so much for being here. This is my 7th exhibition with Dale Chihuly, and it's like no other exhibition I've done for kind of all of the reasons I alluded to. But we're all here, and we're about to see something really beautiful. The first time I met Dale was really by accident. It was back in 1988, which is a long time ago, but I bumped into him at Saks Fifth Avenue in Palm Beach. Now I say bumped into him, but truthfully, it was more like I accosted him. I was in the shoe department and I looked up, and even in 1988, Dale was an iconic figure. I looked up, I recognized him immediately and went running after him. Fast forward to May of 1989, Dale opened my opening exhibition when I opened a new gallery in the Exchange Tower in Toronto. So that's been our relationship going all the way back to 1988. Dale is a legendary artist. He's a trailblazer, he's a risk taker, and a philanthropist. His name is really synonymous with contemporary glass art. And I mean, if it wasn't for Dale, he led the way for all of us. He led the way for artists. He led the way for gallerists like myself. He led the way for collectors. He let us all see glass in a different way. He took it to a whole different level, and he created things that weren't even imaginable back in those days. And it's just been absolutely amazing, and it really doesn't stop. I mean, it's 5 decades later, and Dale is still creating new ideas, new works. In the show, as we tour today, we'll be able to introduce you to 2 of his most recent series, and also you're going to see 2 major installations that Dale created, especially for the gallery. In many ways, it was really, I think, meant to be that this show is happening right now at this point. I mean, we're in the midst of a pandemic, and I have to be really honest, I gave some thought to whether I should really move forward with this exhibition. But in the end, it always comes down to the relationship. And I get a little emotional when I think about relationships, but it is a relationship. And if I was going to go on this path, I would only go with it. I would only go on the path with Dale. And I'm so thrilled that I'm able to present this show to you at a time when it's an important time to see beauty and to use our imaginations and to just travel somewhere else and to think about the glorious things and to think about what must go through Dale's mind. And we'll see that actually in some of his drawings as we go through the exhibit, because that's the way that Dale often expresses what he wants to create in glass. So thank you very much. We have a couple of special guests today. So what I would like to do is welcome you again to the exhibition, but I'm going to leave the exhibition and just walk into my office where I can speak to you and speak to our guests from my computer. Thank you.
Good.
So it is a new world. Here I am back at my desk. Things are different. I hope you're all with me because I'm so excited, and I'm very delighted to introduce you to Dale Chihuly and Leslie Chihuly, who are in the studio in Seattle. So thank you very much for coming to the show tonight. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, Leslie and Dale. I mean, we all know, Dale, you created an incredible exhibition for us in Toronto. Thank you so much. And I also want to point out that Leslie is actually the CEO and president of the Chihuly Studios. So how are you guys managing during the pandemic? Tell me about it. How's life changed for you? We've had to change by, the same way as we're doing this exhibition by Zoom and online. Have you found, what changes have you had to make?
Well, we've had to change a lot of things. One of the big ones was just not getting on airplanes and not really going anywhere, which is a big change for me. We've been pretty much hunkered in Seattle since March. We had to make a lot of changes in the studio right away when we started to see what was happening. We did have a number of things canceled, but we have been incredibly blessed by the number of projects that either did not cancel, like your project, or new projects that have come in. But we have certainly gotten good with the technology. We never really heard of Zoom before. Dale really doesn't like it this day, but it's come in very handy because we've been able to maintain a connection. And with the gallery show, we opened a gallery show in Seattle this last summer, and it was at a time where really nobody could go into the gallery at all. And still we were able to make that connection and use the technology to get in front of our people and talk about what we care most about. So I think it's really been a blessing to that we can connect this way. And I'm so proud of you, Sandra, for forging ahead and having the courage to do this show. There have been many challenges, including the fact that our own team couldn't come over the border to set up the show, which has never happened. But you guys are so skilled and so experienced, and we were able to do this together without physically coming there. So incredible. So we've been spending a lot of time telling our stories. We've been working a lot with our video and making clips and stories about some of our team members and getting those online and being very active on our social media and our communications front. But we just blessed to be able to do what we do because we get to wake up every day and surround ourselves with art and beauty and wonderful people like you.
Well, I feel the same way. I get to walk into the gallery. Like you, I was at home for 6 or 7 months, and it wasn't until we decided to go ahead with the exhibition that it was firm that we started coming back into the gallery, and it was a blessing. It was so wonderful to just be able to sit back and look at the beauty and understand that Dale created those pieces for us here in Toronto. And I should give a shout out and thanks to the team Ainsley. It's usually Team Chihuly, but to Daniel Ainsley and to Matthew Godet and to Adrian Sheriff, who really, with the help of your installers, they're so great by Zoom and by FaceTime, got this show put together. So thank you very much. You've been involved in so many projects. When I think about maybe the first time I met you, Leslie, was at the Tower of, at the exhibition in Jerusalem. And that was one of my favorites. I love the Kew Gardens. I mean, so many exhibitions of Victoria Albert. Do you have a favorite when you look back on the different major shows?
Well, I loved Chihuly over Venice because that's really the time when I got to know Dale and started working with him and really dove into this wonderful world of glass and began to appreciate just the scale and ambition of Dale's aesthetic dreams. And of course, Chihuly in the Light of Jerusalem to me was just, it was a pinnacle experience and very different from anything else. Just the sheer volume of that space and the incredible history and backdrop of working there was incredible. But the garden shows I love. So, you know, we've been able to work outside, which has also been incredible. We've been able to open a show in Nashville this summer because people can go and be safe in gardens more than they can be in inside spaces. So very grateful for that connection to the nature and the gardens. Dale, your favorite? I know you know it's like having to choose one of your children.
No, it's kind of a toss-up between Chihuly over Venice and Chihuly in the Light of Jerusalem. Both in such incredible places to work in. And so lucky to have that happen to me.
Dale, I was lucky enough to be there for the Light of Jerusalem, and it was truthfully an unbelievable experience. It really was. And I remember when you brought all the ice from Alaska to build the wall outside the Citadel. That was an unbelievable experience. I don't know if you'll remember this. I remember you called me actually and asked me if I knew anyone that might want to forge ahead with that with you and bring 60 tons of ice from Alaska to Israel of all places.
Was I looking for funding?
You were looking for funding. Yes, exactly. You called me one morning. It was like 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning. And you wanted to know if I knew anyone that might want to be involved in a project with you. I asked you what it was, and you said you were thinking of bringing 60 or 70 tons of ice from Alaska to build a wall in Israel. Now, even I'm thinking, I don't know about this. This does not sound plausible. But you did it. You managed to do it, and it was incredible.
We did it without funding.
Well, he's
That's
always
right.
he's always had more ideas than he has shekels.
There you go. Yeah, but I think over 2 million people saw that exhibition, so that was pretty monumental.
And that was probably the first time it ever happened that we were not able to send our crew to take the show down because there'd been this very peaceful period where everybody was coming together in the old city and the art was really central to that. But toward the end of the exhibition, a lot of fighting and tension broke out and we weren't feeling comfortable sending our team over. So we had to show them by video and by photography how to do it, which was quite a project.
And we've done the same here on a much smaller scale, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah, for sure. I know that 2021 is going to be a big year for you. Dale, it's a big year for you. I know that you are going to turn 80 and Pilchuck is turning 50. And for those that don't know it, that Dale was the founder of Pilchuck, and that's the preeminent glass school training ground in the world for glass today. And I don't think there's an artist that wouldn't say thank you for creating that school.
We had some great art patrons in Seattle that helped build and it's amazing to think that it's turning 50.
We had the big fundraising auction. Of course, it was the first ever virtual one. And we're able to raise $1.2 million online between just raise the paddle and sales of artwork. So considering the fact that we weren't able to do any classes at Pilchuck last summer, basically had to mothball the whole place. Now it looks like we'll be in good shape to resume courses next year.
I was lucky enough to take a group of collectors to Pilchuck. We actually brought them to the studio last June, and one of our stops was Pilchuck. And actually, of that group of people that came with to Pilchuck, every one of them is on this tour or on this visit today with us. So they were all very anxious to see Dale again and you, Leslie. So it's wonderful. You know, I know in 2009, Leslie, you and Dale founded the Dale and Leslie Chihuly Foundation. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, what we've done, we decided when we started it that we wanted to just begin to dip our toes into foundation activities, as it were. So we started out, and we still very much are focused on artists, arts organizations. So we've been able to develop some longer term relationships with organizations like Artist Trust, and we give the Arts Innovator Award. In fact, they do all of the selection and the panel work, but we give a gift of $50,000 to individual artists to be able to make their work and take their work to the next level. So that one has been very satisfying. I think that's been about 10 years now since we started that. So we do a number of grants sort of through that foundation, and we're just building it out and you know, figuring out how to do it as we move along. But it's been really satisfying.
Mm-hmm. Very good. I know that the Hilltop Artists, is that part of that organization? I know Dale's very supportive of that particular group.
Yeah, they're definitely one of our biggest recipients, and that was a program that Dale started that was in the public schools in one of the toughest neighborhoods in Tacoma. Now it's been taken into the public school curriculum, but they still need to raise money to be able to do the glass blowing. So we've had now generations of students coming through there, and we have a scholarship for some of the graduating Hilltop students to come and work at Pilchuck. And that's great to see, because a lot of these kids really had very little to look forward to. And I think the glass helped them stay in school and helped them find community. And it's been really enriching.
So, you know, something I've always noticed when I've come out to the studio, that so many of the people that work at Chihuly have been there for as long as I've had a relationship with Dale. You know, they're there for 20, 30 years. How do you keep people happy that long? Why do you think they stay in the studio for such a long time? Is it about Dale? Is it about the creativity?
Totally, it's totally Dale, and it's totally about what happens there. I mean, it's a really unique, very unique place on the planet. There's really nowhere else, you know, you can go and do and work on the kinds of projects and the depth and variety of projects that Dale picks up on. And the fact that, you know, he's so interested in book design, and we have this wonderful publishing company, Chihuly Workshop. Great, you know, great people have come through there, and that work, making the films too that happen through there, and all of the publications have really helped get Dale's story and imagery out in the world. So that's been great. And then incredible people in the glass shop. Everybody who was anybody in this movement has passed through there at some point. And some of the longest term studio members now. I think Jimmy, gosh, he's 50 something now. He's not supposed to be 50. But he started with us in Ireland on Chihuly over Venice. So it's really been, you know, over 25 years. So that's incredible amount of institutional knowledge and just history and connection. So yeah, that's
So are you up to for a few more questions, or
yeah, how about, yeah, give us one more question. Does anybody from the audience want to ask a question? Is that what
we
you're
do
thinking?
that? I'm
Sure.
not technically involved here, so
Yeah,
I'm
through the
going to ask
chat.
Adrian. Yes.
Wait,
You have one?
did we introduce Susan Marabito? She is our
Susan, you know, I'm looking at you. Now that Susan's coming on, what I'd like to do before we go any further is raise a glass. Because,
Yes.
and to say congratulations to Dale for creating an absolutely beautiful exhibition, for Leslie for being the president and CEO of Chihuly. I don't know where we'd be without her. And truthfully, I don't know where I would be without Susan Marabito, who I speak to pretty much every day, sometimes 3 times a day. She's been working for Dale for 8 years now, and how much I enjoy that relationship. I'd have to say there isn't one relationship I don't enjoy at the studio. So congratulations. And
Cheers.
mazel tov. How's that? Good. I'm only having one sip. I don't trust myself, but we did raise a glass.
Nice.
Okay, so, I know that you and Dale, well, I guess I have a couple of questions, but
Oh,
I noticed we're talking about,
there's a
Pardon?
question in the chat box, Sandra. Do
oh,
you want?
good.
Do you
I
want?
can't read that, so maybe Daniel or Adrian could read that.
It's from Catherine. To
Okay.
everybody, what drew you to glass making, and when did you make your first piece of glass? That, I guess, is directed to Dale.
To Dale.
Well, I'm not really sure what drew me to glass. I mean, when I was little, I would play on the beach and pick up beach glass. And when I was a young boy, I went to church and saw the stained glass windows. But it wasn't until I was a student at the University of Washington and took a weaving course, and I decided to weave some glass into tapestries. And that was really the beginning. Then I got a little studio and I could fuse the glass. And then one night I blew a bubble, and then I wanted to be a glass blower, and University of Wisconsin had just started teaching glass blowing, so I went there, and the rest is history.
It
Definitely.
continues to be.
That's great. Can you read another one there, Susan?
Let me see if there's anything else in here. Somebody says, first saw your work in Las Vegas. I don't hear another one, so maybe just one last one from you, Sandra, and
Sure,
we
well,
can let
I
these.
notice when I visit the studio, and even though as I say, I see the same people, they seem to work for Dale forever. But I also notice there are a lot of female, whether it's executives or people in pretty responsible positions. Did that just happen, or was that planned? Did that have anything to do with you, Leslie, or with Dale? Or is it something you didn't think of?
Well, I think I remember Dale talking about, just thinking what great leaders and managers women were. And they were just always, there were always female leaders in the studio, from the very beginning. And also in the hot shop, I think he was always sad that there weren't more women in the field of glass blowing, but now there are a lot more. And so we've got one gal on our team right now, but we would like to have females on the glass blowing team. But certainly all of pretty much our entire management team, except for 2, are female, and they've been there a really long time. So I think there's a lot of trust, and there's a lot of confidence in us being able to get stuff done and being very reliable. Look at Susan. She's the one who's helped us turn all gallery openings to this post-COVID figuring out things and being so patient and working with people to make it happen. So
it's kind of amazing, isn't it, what we've had to do? I said to you before that I find, in a way, it's not an unsatisfying way of doing business or selling art. Of course, I want the personal touch again, but with you in the studio, how has it all changed for you? I mean, glass blowing is very collaborative. So what happens in the studio? Can you make new work?
We figured out after a period of time of the shutdown in Seattle, we were able to figure out some ways to make the glass blowing process really safe. So a handful, fewer people came back into the shop, but those who did figured out how to use the masks and how to use the hand sanitizer and how to distance as much as possible, and showed us how they clean the pipes. And the way they do that is with a torch. Turns out that works.
Oh, of course. That makes a lot of sense.
We were really happy. We miss having people come to the studio. We love being able to at least do something virtually, but we love having events at the boathouse, and we like being able to be together. So we're all really still missing out a lot.
Well, thank you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your time today and the fact that you came to our opening. I didn't expect it. It was a big surprise for me. It's the nicest surprise I could have had. And Dale, I hope it's another 30 years that we're together. As they say, our first 30 was pretty good, and I hope our next 30 be even better. What do you say?
All
I hope
right.
so. Yes. And
Love you.
Leslie,
We love you.
thank you. Love you too. I can't wait to see you again. Do you remember our martinis we had from time to
Oh,
time?
Yes,
Yes.
we better.
I know, I miss those. Okay.
Okay, we're
Okay,
through the gallery and we'll be in touch soon.
for sure. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much for coming.
Bye,
Okay.
thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
What a great surprise, huh, Sandra?
That was terrific. To our audience, I didn't know that Dale was going to be joining us. I'm going to close my door here. Excuse me one second.
That'd be great. We've got a bit of an echo going on. So that was a surprise to all of us, everyone. So we were so happy you guys could join us and see Dale and Leslie live. They were in their home in Seattle. Somebody had asked about their artwork behind them, and there's a big story with that. So I'll get the story to Sandra so she can let everybody know.
Okay, great. Thank you.
It's
So,
still echoey pretty bad, Sandra. Daniel, are you able to fix that?
is it still echoing now?
Now it's fine.
Okay, you know, I think I was too close to the computer, so I'm going to keep my distance. So
You
I
want to
would like
start?
yes, I would love to introduce this first installation. It's called Sea Green and Yellow Persian installation. And this is a brand new piece that Dale created especially for the gallery. I know that he created it with me in mind, so I'm very happy about that. Dale knows I love yellows and greens, and he
So
used
does
those
he.
colors specifically. Pardon?
So does he. All of our business cards are this color. So it's one of his favorite colors too.
So it's really a monumental piece. So Dale grew up in the Pacific. I'm going to tell you a little bit about all the works. So Dale grew up in the Pacific Northwest, and he did spend a lot of his childhood in the ocean, and he even worked as a fisherman in his 20s in Alaska. So the ocean has always had a lot to do with his work, and he's really and truly a water person. If you look into the base of this installation, you'll see the beautiful, beautiful shadows. It's like water, and it's an integral part of the installation to be able to look into this water feature, I would say. It's almost as important as the glass itself.
It's definitely
This
part of the
actually,
sculpture.
you know, pardon me?
It's definitely part of the sculpture. I agree with you, Sandra.
Look at this. It actually makes it almost, it's hard to tell where the glass ends and then the reflection begins.
Maybe Daniel can just focus in on one of the pieces, and you can talk. We can talk about, you know, the Persians a little bit. Or do you want to talk about your story?
I had a story I mentioned to you that I remembered. It was just after I opened my gallery in the distillery, and Dale came to Toronto. He was going to meet with some clients. He was at the gallery. It was time to leave, and there was a torrential rainstorm. It was coming down like crazy. I said, Dale, we can't leave. And he just opened up the door, and he went outside and raised his arms and just put his face up, and the rain came pouring down. He was soaking wet. Unfortunately, I had to follow him. I had no choice. He wouldn't come back in. He said we'd be late. But he loves the water and enjoys anything that has to do with water.
That's
He's an
true.
Aquarius, yeah.
And
Anyways,
this Persian form, he's been doing it since 1986. It was first shown at the exhibition Musée des Arts and Décoratifs in the Palais de Louvre in Paris. And a lot of these Persians people call flowers because they really look sort of like a flower, but they evoke an ancient sensibility and notions of Venice and the Near and Far East. Some of these pieces have a beautiful ridge, and some of them have this detail, like Daniel's focusing on this one that's gorgeous. Thank you, Daniel. That has a wrap of color around the piece and a contrasting lip wrap. So all the lip wraps are a little bit different. This one's quite bold, but do you see the striping there? And those ridges are done purposefully with a cone-shaped mold so that they blow into this mold and blow the piece out. The glass always remembers that mold and helps it shape and form the piece and give it some structure too. I love this
Beautiful.
one.
Yeah, I love that particular element. So
Yeah, that's probably an opaque wrap on that. And many of you who came to the studio, I believe you saw a roller wrap in there.
I think we did actually. I think you're right. This is a beautiful one. This one piece, turquoise piece, really stands out.
Yep, and look at the blow through of color. So you've got turquoise around the edge, layered with the amber on the inside.
Very beautiful.
Yeah. What are you saying, Greg?
I see Greg. Hey, Greg, how are you? Well, Greg,
I can't believe you installed it yourself, he says.
So, Greg, I can't take any credit for it, but Daniel and Matthew and Adrian installed this on their own with the help of the installers via FaceTime. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And look at, stay right there for a second, Daniel, because I'd love to see the quad behind it. The work on paper just on the left back there. Those are two ikebanas. And
ikebanas. Beautiful. Yeah, and the red in that particular quad picks up the red lip wrap in this piece.
It does.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So now Daniel's moved over to the baskets, and I mean, Dale began making the baskets in 1977, which is hard to believe. He visited the Washington State Historic Museum, and that's when he really, for the first time, looked closely at the native baskets and the way they slumped and the way they were just piled one basket into another. And glass is very similar because glass will sag. When it's hot, it will sag. So to Dale, not to other people, but to Dale, this seemed like such a natural series to develop. And the interesting thing about Dale, he started this series in 1977. This particular basket that we're looking at, the red one, was made in 2013. And then the orange basket is 2002, and the blue basket 2001. So what I like of what Dale does is he constantly revisits his series. Like when Dale creates something, he doesn't create it for a one time, but he creates it to always evolve it, to make it better, to change it, to improve it. So
yeah, just to add to that too, you know, colors are different over the decades, and the skills of our team too. In the beginning, the pieces were small just because they just couldn't handle them.
That's right. That's right.
And that 2013 fire orange basket that Daniel focused on was such a beautiful shot, Daniel. You really got that.
Yeah.
And I think that you had your grandson in the reflection back there that was posted.
Yeah, we did. The other thing I was going to say, the fire red color was a color that was used. Dale created a number of baskets for the Ron show back in 2016, isn't that right? So it was a very similar color that he used. And those were two of the most popular pieces in that exhibition.
Yeah, there was fire orange and fire ruby, and you have one of each. We'll probably see the fire ruby towards the end, maybe. And the fire orange, I think, was at the ROM, right outside where the ceiling was.
That's right, exactly.
If anybody saw that exhibition locally.
Well, I think Toronto people did. There was a great reception. We had a few people come into the gallery today because they had seen the exhibition at the ROM.
Nice.
And we actually have a video that we can show of the process process making these baskets.
Oh, that
which
would
I
be
will do now.
wonderful. Let's
Okay,
do
great.
it. Thank you.
It's the light going through here. I mean, how do you get a stronger presence than that? You know, that's why glass is such a fabulous material. Fabulous. Beautiful piece. Look at that lip wrap, trailing, beautiful.
Nice seeing you guys.
I'm looking at that one, Jimmy.
Yeah.
It looks like that's got almost too much clear. I don't think you can put too much color on these. I want to have a blow through, but I want it really rich, you know, on top. Yeah. Nice. Good going.
So Jimmy's actually the artist that Dale mentioned, who's been working with him since he was 20 years old.
Yeah,
And now he's the main gaffer at the Chihuly studio.
the lead, yeah. But he was the one with the bandana on his head that he just high-fived. But Jimmy can handle those large pieces because he's a tall person himself and get those over top of his head and take advantage of that centrifugal force and gravity. That cobalt blue is real ethereal. Thanks for focusing on that. Where do you want to move to next, Sandra?
Going to the drawings. So I find these drawings to be pretty unusual. They're also, you know, I mentioned at the beginning that this exhibition is a retrospective, and these particular drawings come from 1995 and 1997. We're really accustomed to Dale's drawings being very bold in color. He uses, you know, numerous colors all together, but this would be more of a transition, I would think, from when he started doing his drawings with charcoal and just a little bit of watercolor. He's also taken the torch. If you go down on that, Dan, you can see where it's burnt. He's taken, they're called burnt drawings, and they literally are burnt. Dale's taken the torch and burnt the surface of the paper. But they're very much quieter than the work that Dale does today, but very elegant and very beautiful. Also the pink color, I know Dale loves pink, and we'll find it often coming up in his paintings, and even in some of the sculpture, there'll just be hints of pink color.
And that one is a metallic pink. And the little stringy dark lines is hot glass that he's drug over top of the paper. When Sandra asked Daniel to go down and focus on the base, that was actually the torch, one of the torches from the hot shop that he used just to burn the paper. You've got a great angle there. You can see how much depth is in the background of this. Even though they're subtle and a little more sophisticated, there's quite a lot of energy going on here, don't you think?
Definitely. Yeah, I love them. They're very, very quiet, very elegant.
They're great together as a pair or individually. They're 60 by 40 inches unframed. Another one I love is signature going right through the base there. And that's also in metallic. It looks like, is it silver, Dan? I think so.
You know, I don't know why looking at these drawings reminds me of something.
What?
Back in the early 90s, I was in Seattle visiting the studio, and Dale invited me to lunch, which was very nice. We took his little BMW convertible, went to a restaurant for lunch, and we sat down. And the first thing he said to me is, how much snowfall was there in the Cascades this year? Well, there's no way I would ever know how much snow fell in the Cascade Mountains. And the waiter came over to the table and he said, how much snow fell in the Cascade Mountains? And the waiter looked at him like, I don't know what you're talking about. Next thing I know, Dale's on his cell phone and he calls the Parks Department. So he found out how much snow had found in the Cascades. But I guess I mentioned that about Dale, how inquisitive he is. Like, he has to have the answer to everything and he has to have it right away. It's kind of fun though.
wasn't Google and cell phones then, right?
There was no, nothing like that. Do you find he's still like that today?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, very much so. And it could be about anything. Hi, Peter. Thanks for joining
Yes,
us.
Peter, thank you. So our friend Peter Bremmers, an artist I represent here in the gallery, has just congratulated us. Thanks, Peter. We
And
miss
he's
you.
joining from Holland.
Yes.
So it's nice to see everybody from all over the place. So we're going to turn around and focus on this new body of work. Do you want to talk about it or do you want me to?
You can go ahead. Feel free to. Go ahead, Susan.
So this body of work is called Light Drawings, and Dale actually paints on 5/8 inch acrylic panels that he's sandblasted, and he paints on both sides with acrylic paint. He's always painted on flat surfaces, but putting them in a light box and showing them for the first time with Sandra in Canada is pretty unusual. Daniel's going to go in and you can see that there's so much depth. That's because both sides of the painting has been painted on, but also the light box, there's a dimmer switch on it. So you can vary the light. Whoa, and look at how different. That almost looks eggplant, doesn't it, without the light on it? And it's totally that beautiful blue aqua. You want to turn it up just a little bit? So yeah, sometimes we recommend lighting the front, so the front of the painting also reflects, but you can just use the light box itself. Look at that painting from underneath.
Beautiful. Yeah, they're
you've got one of these in your catalog. If some of you have the catalog, and we'll come on that. But these are the sizes that are a little bit smaller, and they're 42 by 32 inches.
Yeah, they're a very comfortable size.
Yeah.
Beautiful size.
And Dale's, when he's always painted with painting assistants. Most of the time, the painting assistants help with the background and handing him the paint. So he likes to paint not just one painting at a time, like a typical artist who is a painter does. He paints lots of them together. So the works on paper are painted on the floor and he runs from one to the other. These are typically on a table and goes one to the other and asks for the tubes of the golden paints. Golden Paints is from upstate New York, and they've made about 50 colors that are just Chihuly colors. Look at the depth of that. Wow. Beautiful. And that really, really changes as well. And it's really fun to see all the different brightnesses between on and off as well. So you can have a little bit of light, you can have a lot of light. Somebody asked once if they could put it on a timer so that it would just kind of circle through. So every time they looked at it, it looked a little bit different. Yeah, I don't know if they ever did it or not.
You know, Dale said that he was quite influenced when he traveled in Europe by the stained glass windows that he saw. And he was trying to create the idea of light coming through. Of course, it's plexiglass and it's not glass. I think he definitely achieved that.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, years ago, he painted on glass with car paints on the top of the boathouse, had a big exhibition of that. He does do some painting on glass now too. But these are so accessible and so easy to have in your own environment. They're not the grand scale that some of those initial ones were for museum exhibitions that were enormous.
Yes. I think I told you I once saw Dale painting. I was again visiting the studio and he invited me upstairs to his deck. He has a huge outdoor deck. And I couldn't believe what I saw. He was out there with galoshes on and a broom and brushes, and he was just swishing around. He was painting on 3 surfaces at the same time. It was like a whirling dervish. I couldn't believe what I was watching.
Did you get covered in paint?
Pardon me?
Did you get covered in paint too?
I did actually get some paint on me, but I didn't complain. No complaints at the time.
Great.
Okay, so we're going to move around the corner to.
I know we've got a video to the anniversary basket, and I'm not sure when you want to show that.
I think Daniel's showing the chandelier now.
Okay.
I think because I have a story I'd like to tell about this. So there's an artist I represented in Canada. Her name is Linda Fraser, if Linda is listening. And it was back years ago when I was in the distillery. And she said to me one day, I have a story I'd like to tell you. Years earlier, back in the early 90s, she was working at the Rhode Island School of Design. And Dale was at the Rhode Island School of Design. And one night, quite late, she worked in the office. Dale came in, sat down, put his feet up on the desk. And he said, you know, I've been thinking, but I think I have a great idea. He said, one day, I think I'm going to hang chandeliers over the canals in Venice. And she said to him, and I'm Mary Poppins. So actually, it was back in the 70s. So fast forward many years later, back in the late, I guess that was what, mid 95 that Dale did Venice. She got a phone call. Her phone rang at 2 o'clock in the morning. Dale seems to call whenever he wants. And he said to her, all he said was, Chihuly here, get your umbrella. You're coming to Venice. And I tell that story because Dale obviously had that vision for a very long time, that long before he would even know how to do it, that's something he wanted to do. But the other thing is that Dale never forgets anybody. So the fact that he told that story to this woman, it was just someone that worked at the Rhode Island School, that he would remember that so many years later. And sure enough, she flew to Venice and saw the chandeliers over the canal.
Yeah.
Anyways, pardon?
Okay, go ahead. I was just going to put another tidbit about chandeliers. In 1992 was his first exhibit for the chandeliers at Seattle Art Museum. And then right after that was Jerusalem. Yeah. I mean,
so when was Venice? Venice was.
And it was Venice. Yeah.
So this is the 40th anniversary basket you were talking about.
Right. And this was done 40 years after the series started, like Sandra said, in 1977. He decided to do really, really special colors. This color is one color. It's made by the manufacturer Gaffer. It has a lot of metal in the base, so it changes and shifts in different lights. With the iPhone, it looks a little blown out, but Daniel's getting a good view of the bottom there where you can see the aqua blue and the purple. So he did it in this colorway, and he did it in the red colorway, which is right over Sandra's shoulder there. And these are both 40th anniversary. So he blew these in just recently.
2017. This past year, 2017.
Yeah.
And this is the weaving design that Dale created. Actually, Flora and Joey did. And I think Daniel has a video.
Yeah, but hang on one second. I'll just tell you that this is a pickup technique that he developed, and everybody calls it pickup to get this pattern on the surface. So a lot of people think it's drawn on the surface, but it's actually glass shards and glass murinis and glass tiles. And in this video, you'll see Dale working with Flora and Joey and that pickup method rather than me waving my hand around here to show you.
Yeah, that's a good shot.
Later, I did a series called The Soft Cylinders, and they had shard drawings. And the shard drawings were made by blowing a bubble, breaking it into shards, and then taking a piece of the glass. And then Flora would work with a torch and a thread and make a design on the shard. So the shard was really the blanket itself. And then the little designs and crosses and different patterns that were taken directly from Navajo blankets and Pendleton blankets. And then you'd lay down the shard on a hot plate because you needed to preheat the glass so that the shard wouldn't break. And sometimes the shard would break. It still would often look good with a broken shard. and then the threads would go around it to form the warp and the weft, and then often other patterns as well.
It's a great video to really see
I
that.
love that video.
And he started that in the early 70s. And still to this day, when he wants a pattern on a surface, Flora and Joey drop everything and come and work with Dale, maybe once or twice a year.
Mm-hmm. And maybe move in on the Venetian, which is an absolutely gorgeous Venetian. When I did my first exhibition with Dale in 1989, I was familiar with Dale's Persians and baskets and sea forms. And when the studio sent me the photography of my exhibition, it was of something called Venetians. And this is a Venetian, which is absolutely stunning. But at the time, I had never heard of it. So I was the first gallery that exhibited the Venetian series. And I absolutely love it. To today, it's really, well, I hate to say it's my favorite, but one of my favorite series, definitely. Actually, that same exhibition, that first exhibition, when Dale arrived for the opening, it had taken me, probably, I had no employees at the time. I set the show up myself. Took at least 2 weeks to get every single piece in place, like the sea forms and the Persians. And Dale came in and he said, oh, I have to do something before we go for the lecture. He had forgotten to sign the pieces. So everything that took me 2 weeks to put together, following the picture perfectly, Dale took everything apart and the glass was crashing and banging, and he put it back together, but it looked nothing like, it looked beautiful, but nothing like the image. So I also learned from Dale that there is no set way of showing his work. However it feels good to you is the way you show it.
He does that to this day
Mm-hmm.
in the gallery. He moves things around after we've documented it.
Mm-hmm.
So this piece has been quenched with sodium bicarbonate, which is just baking soda, and to intentionally make these beautiful patterns of bubbles in that clear glass. It's wonderful because it attracts the light and reflects it wonderfully. Also, this color is very unusual. I love the frit of the blue in the flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Really beautiful. And you've got some beautiful paintings also in this area.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the medium size, right, Sandra?
That's right, yes. And this is a very moody painting, I would say, for Dale, wouldn't you? Yeah, I don't see him work too often or paint in these colors.
Yeah, the metallics he really, really loves. So that looks like a metallic base, but it looks like there's gold and silver. And all the energy coming off the lip wrap of that basket too. You can just see it just flying off on the floor.
We should also say that all of Dale's paintings or drawings are of the various series of work that he makes. So this would be a basket and the reeds. I've shown the reeds before, which are monumental pieces, especially when they're grouped together.
Right. I think last year you had some on logs.
I did.
Yeah.
And
Another basket
beautiful color
piece.
combination.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Greg says it reminds him of the amazing Hubble.
Mhm.
That's so true.
Nicobana.
So
Dale's Icabana.
yeah, the Ikebana series, you have an Ikebana next to this, don't
Right
you?
next to it, we have a Nicobana, yes.
Yeah, this,
So I know, here we go.
there you go.
So Dale's always loved flowers and botanical gardens, and I'm sure some of you have seen some of Dale's botanical shows in Chicago, Florida. I know that his mother was an avid gardener, and he was very close with his mother, wasn't he? I know that
Right.
he was quite influenced. And flowers repeat over and over in Dale's work.
An Ikebana is just a form of flower arranging, and these pieces are all blown in the hot shop individually and then assembled here at the gallery by just placing them inside the vessel. There's quite a lot of detail and layering of color. You see a lot of gold leaf and actually a roll of frit, which is those little chunks of color of glass that's not melted in too well. So you've got a beautiful texture. Oh, that's a great shot, Daniel.
That is a good shot.
You can see the blue underneath and the crackle of the gold leaf. And that's all done hot. The whole stem is blown. And then that frit is blown out and makes that striation coming down. And the base of this is got such texture and feel to it. Love all the different colors of the richness of the blue. This one's about 52 inches in height. And this was the last time Dale blew. Ikebana was in 2018. He only made a few. So we haven't shown this one before, Sandra.
Oh, I didn't know that. It's a beautiful piece. Very calming piece, actually. And I guess that's a Japanese term, isn't it? Ikebana.
Mm-hmm. For flower arranging, yeah.
Yes, Greg noted that. That's Japanese inspired, which it is.
Yeah, Greg, you've spent a lot of time in Japan, haven't you? I know he can't answer us, so go ahead.
He's muted. Sorry, Greg. So on this wall, I think we're going to show the Persian wall, the violet Persian wall. We have to get a little closer to that. So this is one of the two installations that Dale made especially for the gallery. And there's quite a bit of, he's used 24 karat gold. Is it 24 karat gold that he's used there, Susan?
Yes.
And the center, if Daniel moves in, we can
And
see
Daniel did install it.
That's right. As a matter of fact, again, as I say, a shout out to Daniel and Matthew and Adrian, who installed these pieces in the gallery with the assistance, of course, of the studio. But it was quite a job. It was quite a lot for me to ask of them. And when I walked, I actually wasn't in the gallery during the installation. For COVID reasons, it was suggested that I not be in the gallery. So I turned it over to the three of them, plus maybe they had one or two other people helping. And when I came back in, it totally blew me away to see the transition, to see the pieces. And Dale asked us to put up this wall. This wall didn't exist in the gallery before, and he wanted this wall installed so he could mount the Persian wall and so that he could have the quad on the other side to reflect with the Persian installation. And for Dale, I should say, when we say we installed the show, there was no artistic decision that we made. The show was designed by Dale, and we had a floor plan, so we knew exactly what had to be done. We knew exactly where the pieces would be placed. So it is totally created by Dale and by the people that work with him.
But it sure looks different on paper than it did installed, I bet. Right?
100%. But look at this, it's beautiful. Absolutely
This Persian
beautiful.
wall is really gorgeous. Purple is a very difficult color to work with, I understand. I'm not a glass blower, that it gets burned out. So to keep that richness of amethyst is pretty tricky, somewhat like gold in red is the same way. Look at that gold leaf on there. So that's done at the very end. If they get that gold leaf too hot, it burns right off the surface. So they have to just get it on. It's very, very thin, thinner than foil. So it's sheets of gold, just gets flashed and then gets knocked off the piping and put away. And
that's a great view of it, seeing the shadows and seeing the different patterns.
Yeah, the armatures that go on, that hold the pieces are all made for each individual specific piece and can be painted the same color as your wall. So it just floats away and you just see the sculpture itself. Another reason for this wall was to make this beautiful space, intimate space of work that really hasn't been shown that often. And so this grouping back here is really, really special. Where do you want to start, Sandra?
So I wonder, Daniel, why don't you move right into this? Perfect. Just move into this large piece. And this is a series that Dale worked on with his very closest friend, Pino Signoretto. And they created a series of pieces in 2013. Unfortunately, shortly after these pieces were made, Pino passed away, which was a great loss because he was an incredibly talented glass sculptor. When you look at the bird, this was done by hand. He sculpted that freely by hand. And I know it was a big loss to Dale because they were such close friends. These pieces have never been shown before. Dale put them away, and it was really due to Susan, who I think suggested to Dale they'd be great pieces for my exhibition, that he released them and signed them. They hadn't even been signed.
That's
Yeah.
right. Jimmy was also on the team, and you could kind of see the vases and the bases and the traditional Venetian bits that are on it. You can see Jimmy's hand because you represent Jim Mongrain as well.
Yes.
And if you've seen Jim Mongrain's work, he takes the traditional Venetian techniques to a grand scale. This is very unusual with this branch base on the base, and all the gold that was used. My goodness, I don't know how much they used on there, but very traditional. Look at the detail of those birds and the patterning on their breasts.
Yep. The tail, look at the tail.
Oh yeah, I love seeing the drawing well straight through them as well.
Yeah, when you come around, Dan, there's one more lovebird you can show on the way back.
It's great at that angle too, the way the light's catching it.
But then there's this love. These are called lovebirds, and I love this particular one. Look at the balance. It's beautiful.
And look at the shape of the vessel that's holding it, and the base, and those traditional circles for the base. The looks like the branches are all inside of the base. I don't know how they got those two hot sculpted birds so close together and not touched each other. When it's hot, it's constantly moving. Remember, all this is on the end of a pipe going round and round and round while they're doing this. That's beautiful. You have sold a few pieces from the show already, which you've had really great success.
We have. We actually sold the lovebirds that we just passed, if I may say. So these beautiful lovebirds have a home other than the gallery.
With you for a little bit.
So this is a very wonderful. Oh, and Donald Robertson has said those two pieces are extraordinarily amazing, and they are. Donald is an artist that I represent in the gallery, so I know he has a great eye. These two pieces and the drawing are called Pilchuck stumps, and Dale's never shown these works before. They've only been shown at the Tacoma Art Museum, but never in a gallery. And they're very unlike anything else that Dale has ever made. They're made by blowing the glass into tree stumps. And the stumps originally came from Pilchuck, and there's lots of stumps there, hence the name for the series, Pilchuck Stumps. But I think if you didn't see this with Dale's work, you wouldn't really imagine it to be Dale Chihuly's artistry at all.
Very small body of work. He did blow it in the video with some of his team members when he was at the Museum of Glass. So you can view him blowing it into bark, and the bark just flaming, and everything's on flame. This is the one that was at Tacoma Art Museum. This beautiful Sandra Ainsley color green, I will call it.
Thank you. Gold
Look at the texture at the base there. That's from the bark of the tree. and totally inspired by Pilchuck. And that's why he calls them Pilchuck stumps.
Yeah, they're very beautiful. I like the
Yeah.
drawing as well.
Mhm.
Again, the drawing isn't like his other drawings, but
Look at how rough the top is, just purposefully. So we're so happy that you're able to show them. And a lot of people had heard about them, but had never seen them in person before. It's a great opportunity and a wonderful environment. And he's only painted a couple paintings. This one's quite large of the Pilchuck stumps. And I love the graphic quality of it. The black, the white, the smudge of the red down the left side.
Yes.
And then the depth of the colors underneath in the actual stump itself. It does kind of remind you of the texture we were just looking at of the base of the Pilchuck stump.
Definitely. Very strong.
I'm not remembering, but I think it's 60 by 40. Is it the large? Is it a large?
It is a large.
Okay,
Oh, wait.
thanks.
Yeah.
42 by 30? Well, I'll find it in that.
Let me just look. I think I might have it right here.
It's 60 by 40. I've got it.
By 40, yes.
Yeah. Really beautiful. And then your drawing wall, which is different this year. You've had drawing walls before that were all open, and these are all individually framed, but thoughtfully balanced and purposefully put in this particular order.
Mm-hmm. So the reason Susan is saying that as well is these drawings are sold individually. I mean, someone can certainly buy the whole wall, which is beautiful, or one of the drawings can be sold, or two. So Dale says he's never met a color he didn't like. And I think when you look at this drawing wall, and I often sit in the seating area just looking at this wall, there's so many colors, and colors that you wouldn't necessarily put side by side, but they just work so well. And there's a different dimension to each of them.
They totally do. And like Sandra said, they're all of the series that Dale works in. So Venetian series, the reeds, the floats, the baskets.
There seems to be more drawings that Dale does of baskets than any series. Is that so, or does it just seem that way in my show?
I think more recently, and what I mean by more recently is 10, 15 years, he really was into drawing the baskets.
Mm-hmm.
Then he got into the iguanas and quite a bit. When he was making piccolos years ago, there is a tiny little piccolo on this huge piece of paper. I've seen some of those too. I don't know if I've ever shared any of those with you.
There's so much energy. I mean, I guess the thing is he's so spontaneous when he paints.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. It's all instinctual. I mean, he was trained in interior design and architecture at University of Washington in the 60s, trained to do sketches and renderings that looked like interior design proposals. But this is really what his heart and soul is just, this is what comes out. Hand me the yellow, hand me the purple, hand me the metallic, and just runs down and sticks a little bit in and on each.
What we're going to do now is we're going to actually cut to a video where we can see Dale painting.
Wonderful. Here's the deck.
great video.
Yeah, you saw the light drawings, you saw the works on paper, you saw the deck that Sandra was talking about. That's the upper deck at the boathouse.
And these are the sea life sculptures, which developed as a result of the putis.
That's right. So Pino Cineretto was most likely on the team when he was blowing these. It's a stopper with a base, and Daniel's coming nice and close in on the base of this one. Again, gold leaf, and you can kind of see the overlap causing that beautiful striping pattern on it. And then the hot sculpting on the top, which is sea life, seaweed. And that piece is separate from the base piece. And oftentimes in this series, he would have drawings to really indicate to the team what he's thinking and what he wants to have made. It's a great way for artists to communicate with each other visually, not only talking about it. So like in this instance, you're seeing it says 2 artichokes, 7 tubes. What's on the right there? The colors maybe. So there's a lot of instruction.
Green.
Yeah, lapis, green chokes. There it is. So the paintings that, or what he calls drawings that go along with them, really tells the overall story.
I like
Here it
this
is.
one.
Do you like this one?
I do like it.
Yeah. Because of the bamboo?
Bamboo, the glass blowing pipe. There's so much happening. I do like the bamboo. I must admit the one that we're going to come up to next, though, might be my favorite.
Yeah.
The sweet potato one. You know, they're very minimal for Dale, aren't they?
The drawings
Very
totally
minimal.
are. Yeah.
Yes, not the sculpture, but the drawings. You know, the first time I ever saw Dale's work in a museum was 1984, and it was in Fort Worth at the Museum of Modern Art. They had an exhibition of Dale, and the museum was totally black. The artwork was just pinpointed, and it was incredible. But when I think about it, that was 84, and Dale's still revisiting some of those same series, new colors, new dimensions. It's really amazing. That's a great shot of the sweet potatoes, talking about sweet potatoes.
And same lighting too. We use a very narrow beam so that the gallery itself is a little darker and the glass actually glows and absorbs the light. Wonderful.
Beautiful base.
Yeah,
Gorgeous base.
that patterning of the circles on there, the way the gold leaf has caught it, and then the layering of frit on the stopper. Got lots of rich, deep colors over top of.
Beautiful. There's a lot of use of gold, isn't there, in certain series? You know, when we look at the Pudis or we look at the Rotolos.
Venetian and Milanese inspired,
Yes.
mostly. You know, Pino Cineretto and Lino with the Venetian series. They were a major part of developing these series. Your Piccolo Venetians as well, a lot of times have gold in them. The Persians hadn't so much, and that's why it was so interesting to see he did that for you, for your amethyst Persian wall. Really a nice touch. It's a little more contemporary or modern to me, rather than traditional Venetian looking like maybe these series are.
Especially on the white wall.
Yeah, that's true.
This is my favorite drawing right here. I like this one.
I like that too. And everybody goes, sweet potatoes? Yep, sweet potatoes.
Why sweet potatoes, Susan? You know why?
Well, my guess would be his love of Ireland and his fascination with the potato famine. And it just comes from that. He had done a series of cylinders that were the Irish cylinders that he used that imagery in. So I think it just came from there. But we'd have to ask him. We should have asked him.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't think that. This is the piece that we used on our catalog. It's a very elegant piece. The Rotolo series is one of Dale's newest series. He just started working with making the Rotolos in 1917. 1917. I'm going too far back. 2017.
2013.
Oh, 2013. Now I've really got my dates confused.
But this piece
But I
is,
think this one is 217, correct?
yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I got a little confused with the time.
No problem.
But this is a beautiful piece. These pieces can weigh up to 140 pounds.
Mhm.
And you can ask my staff who had to place them. They're very heavy to actually lift up onto a pedestal.
Yeah, it
Takes
usually
maybe
takes a couple.
17 people, depending upon the scale of the Rotolos, to make one of these works. How long does it have to be annealed for, a piece like this?
Oh, 8, 9 days it takes, and we had a very low success rate, meaning that they didn't make it through the whole process. Dale's taking a massive amount of glass, trying to make it do something that maybe nobody else has ever tried to do. We could only make 2 or 3 a day, and we ran out of glass in the crucible. And I think we have a video, is that correct, on the Rotolo? It's pretty fun to see.
Yes, we do. So maybe we'll show that shortly. There we go. Look how they swing that.
That pipe was flaming 2 minutes before that. Special yoke that the team made so it wouldn't fall off the end of the pipe. That looks like the red color that you have, Michelle, to me. That last flash. You have to be very careful not to hold this piece against the silver suits. They are diving into the annealer that's 900 degrees. If they held it against the suits, it would make the surface crack because it would cool it down too fast. So we had to figure out all sorts of small little things to be successful in this series. Much to accounting's maybe didn't want Dale to go through with this because we lost so many in the beginning, but Dale was determined to make this series work. And it's one of the more beautiful sculptural works, definitely not easily identifiable as his colorful work where he nests piece inside, but very sculptural.
Very. I think that when Dale started this series, he used only clear glass, isn't that right?
He's clear. That was the only thing that made it through. He tried opaques, and for some reason, you know how some colors are, they couldn't be pushed that far as the size or the heat or the annealing process. This one happens to have bubbles intentionally, much like we talked about the Venetian with the bubbling.
And those arms, as we said, are not solid, they're blowing. Each of those arms or tentacles. It's rather amazing. When you watch Jimmy put it around the pipe, it's amazing.
It is. I was so glad you were able to be there and some of your guests.
That's right. We saw them making, at that time, it was clear Venetians right at the very beginning. This is a beautiful painting related to the Rotolos. And again, Dale used that beautiful iridescent pink. As we go in closer, we
Yeah.
Beautiful. This is an unusual painting for Dale, I think. Even though he's usually in bold colors, this is a little bit more subdued. Perhaps it's the background, but
Yeah.
it's so elegant, very elegant.
Yeah, I don't know why, but he decided, this is from 2013 when the series first started. He decided to use this beautiful depth of background with his painting assistant. So it looks like it's got some metallic paint to it, but it's 3 or 4 different colors.
You
It
can
sets
see it
off,
there.
yeah, it sets off the coils really nicely on the front.
Yeah, beautiful. It sets the whole room off, actually, this particular drawing. It's unexpected.
Yeah. I love the way just when Daniel pulled back, you can see a little iridescent blue and a little iridescent pink
Yes.
to that paint. And I can see the reflection of the light drawing in it. He's
From
gonna
across
circle
the room.
around.
And there's our fire hose. That's actually a relic. It's not a working fire hose.
And you've got 2 dopios in the show, and dopios just mean 2 pieces of paper that Dale's painted on as one subject.
And they're both of Icabanas, of the Icabana series. Look at the number of colors in that one painting.
Yeah.
Look up close.
The green stems are really stand out and are energetic. Look at all of the splash coming off of that.
Always looks like an explosion or energy, as you say, really.
It does. It really does. And I like it against that neutral background, that more earth tone background. And we're coming up on the beautiful ethereal blue with the 2 Icabanas.
Yes.
I'm glad you didn't run into that, Daniel. Good job.
This
He's
is
got
a very
his mic off.
graceful, beautiful piece.
And the signature should be in that bottom swath, is it? Yes.
There it
As
is.
it goes in, you can see it right in the swath of color down there. There's a couple of different colors of yellow and green. It looks like he's used.
Little chartreuse, yes.
Yeah. A little splotches of black and red, and then the stems are they a metallic light blue or silver in person?
Silver.
More silver.
And then the splash of red at the top.
Yeah,
It's like fireworks almost at
it
the
is.
top.
I could probably
And
look
if-
at this.
There we go.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
another light drawing.
Yeah.
So we have to get in closer to see the color. It's interesting how it doesn't show the color. Oh, there, it's coming in now.
It's a little, got a lot of light behind it. It looks richer in person, I would think.
Much richer. It's an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous red.
Yeah.
There. That's
There,
more
it's
like
more
it
like
now.
that.
Hmm.
Now, but you can vary the light again.
There we go. Now this one does have a light on the front, so let's see how it looks. There,
So
it does
it's-
look different. Yep.
It's popping the front acrylic colors with the light on the front. But you certainly can use just the interior light.
It's a little washed out with all of our cameras, but it's a very, very rich.
Yeah, can you just switch it right back on again, Daniel, while you're up top there on the stems? I don't know if that's like a, there you go. Now look at that background, depending on the foreground.
There's a lot of different reds in that drawing, if you take a look.
Olive on the surface. I love the modeling because it feels like it's many, many layers of color. And it's just on painted front and back.
Love that particular drawing.
This one's a little bit larger in size. It's 50 by 40 inches. So Dale just painted on 2 sizes recently. This was his most recent one from 2019. And that beautiful red Bertolo we skipped over, didn't we?
It really bounces off the drawing beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the different depths of color in the red.
This one's about 39 inches high and it weighs 92 pounds. Daniel would say it weighs twice that, I'm sure, trying to get it up on that stand. But he doesn't do it, hopefully he doesn't do it alone. It usually takes a couple people.
It does, definitely.
And it's very stable then too. You really don't have to worry about anchoring
No.
it down.
Once you get on the pedestal, it's there for life. It's fine.
I love the
That's
different
a nice
colors
shot.
of red.
Mm.
Look at that shot together. That's beautiful, Daniel.
Mm.
Looks like it should be a postcard to me.
Mm.
And we're off to next is, we were talking about the red baskets before.
Yes, that is a showstopper piece. So this is an incredible 36 inches across. It's a very, very large set. It's called Fire Ruby set. And this piece was made in 2017.
We're getting a little bit light on it. It's actually a smidgen richer and darker. It's got like an undertone of amber that goes through that red color. When Daniel goes down on the side, that's a great shot. You can see
We're still not getting the true. It's not the true color yet. It is more of a fire red, as in the basket maybe that we saw at the beginning.
Yeah. And you've used this for your press release, this image. So if you've seen this out and about, this is the actual piece.
But for all the people in Toronto, you can make an appointment to come to the gallery and see the exhibition. And you will see the true colors, because as Susan said, this is much more of a fire red. It's very, very different when you see it in person. So please make a point of coming to the gallery to see the exhibition.
It feels powerful to me in person.
Yeah.
And then you've got some beautiful niches, right?
Well, we're going to look at these baskets first, I think. And
Sure.
you know, these baskets, Dale is a colorist at heart, but these are much softer, but beautiful. Maybe if we go in closer, we might get the color.
Again, very natural, organic. Early on, he's inspired by nature and sand and the earth. And
There we're getting the color.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, and again, it's influenced by the native American baskets, I think.
Right. And this one on the right, the undulations and the folds of the exterior basket is beautiful. Look at how it's reflecting. That could have so easily got stuck to each other, which is called a touchback. If they don't have the temperature exactly right and the gravity and centrifugal force. So I love the way there's so many folds in this one. We've got that oxblood red lip wrap again that Dale loves to use, and you can see the red tinge around the edge of that. Subtle and sophisticated, great palette, and harking back to when he first started blowing the baskets at Pilchuck. It was influenced by the environment.
Just looking, these were actually made in the small basket was made in 1995. So, and I don't have the date on the larger one beside it, I'm sorry.
2001.
Okay, so they are fairly early when you look at it that way, compared to the other baskets that we showed early on in the show.
Yeah. Then you've got two more that have been shown in exhibitions, museum exhibitions. This first one on the left was shown at Pepperdine University and Catalina Island Museum recently. You want to talk about it? The title is Airy White with Dream Blue Basket Set. See that blue cloud-like hue coming through.
Yes.
Daniel,
So, and again, these are 2000. Both of these were made in 2000.
mm-hmm. And
I
we
love
take,
the yin and the yang of them, the way they fit together.
they were actually,
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
They were I was just going to say they were displayed together at Catalina Island Museum this way, and Dale wanted to keep them this way for you.
You know, because you're talking about museums, I would just like to give a shout out that we have quite a few people on this tour with us from Naples, because Dale is going to have an exhibition opening very soon at the Baker Museum. And I would like to welcome them all and say how lucky they are with their upcoming museum exhibition. So anyone that's in Naples this winter should definitely go to see that exhibition.
That's wonderful. Thanks for being here. Welcome, you guys.
These are gorgeous baskets, though. I love the purity of the white.
Mm-hmm. It really shows off against the sand and natural color on the other side. Look at how he's got them both in the shot there.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're going to head over to the niches.
And we're just about,
Oh, we forgot that, of course. The cabana.
the quad. I was just answering, Susan Glass asked if Dale still wears his same speckled shoes. And I thought I would just send a message to everybody, but maybe I'll just tell you verbally is yes, those shoes are speckled because of the way he paints. They just get all over his shoes. He does wear them. They are iconic. This quad is beautiful. I know we talked a little bit about it when we started, but the size is quite impressive, the energy, the depth. And for Dale to paint something like this on the floor, sometimes the team will build him like a little step up so he can get that whole range of energy going straight up through the top of the papers. Do you have room for that one, Sandra, in your collection?
Oh, I love that. No, I probably do have a wall large enough. It's a gorgeous one. You know I like it. You know I like green. I love the red lip wrap on it.
Yeah.
So we have a little note from Greg who says when he first met Dale at an airport, he was sprinting through the airport with spotted shoes. So he was wearing his painting shoes.
Well,
So,
they're comfortable.
so there are some beautiful, beautiful pieces in our niches. Let me see if I have some.
Go in a little bit further on
Yeah,
that.
a little
one,
closer.
Daniel, that sunflower seaform set with brick red lip wraps also have a brick red wrap. There, you got it great now. It was a little bit blown out on that. And this one's
this is one of my favorites. I
Is
love
it?
the color combination. It's very, very rich. And this piece Dale made in 2001. The niches are wonderful ways to really zoom in and be very up close and personal with Dale's work. So many of the pieces in the show are very large, but these pieces are extremely comfortable in size.
And then we're coming down to this early macchia, which is one of your favorites, isn't it?
It is. I love this piece. This was made in 1981, and that is the first year that Dale began making the macchias. So obviously in the beginning, they were very small. Now the macchias are incredibly large. They're one of the largest forms that Dale makes. And macchias were meant to be 1,000 colors. He used every possible color There's also a story I heard that Dale created the Macchia series when he was taking a train from Vancouver to Montreal. And he had nothing to do for 4 days but to experiment. And he came up with the concept of this design and using as many colors as possible as he could in each piece. And it really is a jewel. It's a beautiful piece.
It's only 7 inches high and about 11 inches wide, but such an important part of the story of Dale. And like Sandra said before, when Dale starts a series and he comes back and revisits it, there's all sorts of new ideas, new methods, new colors. I don't think he could have done this one any better though. That aqua and the red, that claret red is so beautiful.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Daniel. Another early one. I think you're going to need to come in a little bit. There's a reflection in the back that's blowing everything out in the camera. There you go.
That's the Wild Maze Persian set.
Right.
And again, this is 2001.
I love the different elements with the different color lip wraps and the way you've placed this individual element off to the side. Not in the piece.
Mm-hmm.
Really beautifully sculptured.
That's something I learned from Dale. I remember when I did my first exhibition, I had all the pieces inside, and then Dale came and he just took everything apart and they were scattered all over. It's such a nice way of displaying the work.
It is. You can focus on some of the individual characteristics and nuances of the pieces. And we were talking about Jerusalem, and you have one of the few Jerusalem cylinders that is left. There's not many of these.
And this one was made in 1999, the year of the Light in Jerusalem exhibition.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that was in the exhibition in Israel.
I don't have it indicated as so, but that doesn't mean, who knows what they were doing in 1977 if they even documented.
Right, and you can see the chunks of glass that refer back to the ice that Dale brought from Alaska, but also to the rocks of the landscape and the bricks of the or stone of the citadel. So
exactly.
It speaks to many things.
This piece was featured in, if anybody had the book that's out of print, 365 Days of Dale Chihuly. Abrams did it. This piece was featured in that book.
I have that book.
Oh,
look for it. Okay, thank
it's
you.
on page like 339 or something like that.
Okay.
And the little piccolo.
Beautiful little piccolo.
It's
a little miniature
dark.
piccolo. But it is absolutely a perfect piece. It is quite small. The height of that, I have to just check that.
10.
10, but it expresses everything about the Venetian. You look at it, it has every element that a Venetian should have.
Oh, you have a piccolo video, maybe? Would you like to do that? I'm not sure. Yeah.
There's Dante.
Yeah. And you can see how those coils were done with the Venetians, how they were inspiration for the Rotolo. Look at the beautiful coils on this. So they were still wrapped around, but just a small little stick, not a huge flaming tube, metal tube like they do with the Rotolo.
This is quite an exquisite piece. Can you go up to the top one, Dan, as well?
This one's also from 1999.
You know, there was a story I would just like to tell coming from the Light of Jerusalem. When I went to Israel for the opening of that exhibition, there was an incredible party in the evening, a wonderful opening, and we were outdoors, of course. It was exquisite. The next day we were told that the exhibition would not be open. And I found out later it was closed because when Dale was quite young, in his 20s, he spent a year living on a kibbutz in Israel. And he said it really helped him understand about a community and a team. It inspired his work. But he closed the museum the next day and invited the entire kibbutz to come for lunch. And it's something that I touched on a little bit earlier about Dale, how no man is never left behind. You know, he never forgets anything, whether it's Linda or whether it's the kibbutz. Relationships do mean a great deal to him.
I think especially now, I think it means a great deal to all of us through this pandemic.
Definitely.
Really puts the emphasis on that beautiful orange Persian.
Oh, this is a gorgeous piece. And I think if Daniel gets inside, it will see the white element in there. It just makes this whole thing pop. There it is, the exterior.
That white wrap and the black lip wrap. And this one has an unusual sculptural form that it sits on the sphere. They've pinched in the back of the Persian. And you see that? Thank you, Daniel. You got it great.
There it is,
That
beautiful.
pattern. It reminds me of rickrack. I know I'm old. Many people won't know it.
I don't even know what that is. What's rickrack?
Oh, I used to sew, and it was this pattern, rickrack. You would put it as decorative. You're too young, Sandra.
Oh, I guess so.
And we've got two more pieces, right?
We do. So this is the Colonial Green Persian set. And this actually is from 2000. So it is an older piece, but still so relevant. And, you know, just compare it back to the Persian green tower that we're looking at in the center of the gallery. But the glass in this, because there's so much clear glass, it's very fragile looking, isn't it?
Yeah, even though it's not, it has, I think the transparency of the colors, there's really no opaque colors, maybe a little bit in that wrap, but that's a small little line. You've got amber, you've got aqua, and you've got the opaque yellow lip wrap, which is unusual as well.
Very elegant piece.
Yeah, doesn't often do the yellow lip wraps, only on Persians. I think some of your tower pieces might have a yellow lip wrap. And then this one, Colonial Blue. And it's from 2001. It's about 8 inches high, about 17 inches wide. Loving that cobalt blue and the transparency, the wraps, and then the splash and surprise of a contrasting element in the center there.
It really jumps out, doesn't it? And Dale, so traditionally, not always, but often uses the red lip wrap with cobalt.
Red and black are the two go-tos. That oxblood red, which there's a new color of it now. You can't get that anymore. So
beautiful. That piece is gorgeous.
We've got one more.
Yeah, well, we have one more. Let's look at this. It's one more drawing, which is a beautiful float drawing. And this was painted in 217. So, sorry, 207.
It's, talk about ethereal, right?
Very.
Beautiful colors.
I like the
Wild.
yellow signature there.
Oh, the
So-
yellow signature. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Very unusual for Dale, but there it is.
Yeah.
So that is all the pieces that are installed in the show, but I'm going to ask Adrian to put up 2 other images, if I may. I explained to everyone that Daniel and Matthew and Adrian installed the show themselves with the help of the installers, but they were not able to do the chandeliers. We required 2 installers to come from Seattle to install these chandeliers because there's a certain artistry in how this is put together. And as we all know, the border between Canada and the US is closed, still closed. So as soon as the border opens, we hope to hang these chandeliers in the gallery. And here's
the clear hornet.
well,
Go ahead.
I was going to say we might not hang this one. As seeing as we have sold this particular chandelier, but I'm sure that you'll make another one for me.
Yeah, I was just talking to Dale about it.
Yes, what does he say it should be?
It should be clear or white again. He really sees it in that space. He loves it with your white leather sitting space.
Good.
Yeah.
And moving on this one, it's a beautiful piece. I love this. It's an icicle chandelier.
So all of those icicle elements were blown by our team. Took many, many weeks to do. It's not blown in a mold. All of that texture on each individual piece is hand done with a crimping style tool. You can see it really well right there. And look at all the different colors that makes that one color. When it was far away, it looked like it was one color of blue.
Solid. So
And there's
wasn't Dale's first chandelier an icicle chandelier? The first chandelier he ever made?
I am not sure. I know that one of the first installations outside was
maybe that's it. Yes,
Sleeping Lady, and that was icicle.
You're
here in the east of the
beautiful
city.
though.
Yeah. You might know that more than me. I don't know
I'm
what the first
mistaken. I was thinking of the outside installation. It
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
his first chandelier. His first outdoor installation was an icicle.
Right. It's actually in snow, and a lot of times you see pictures of it online. He put a little heater on the armature.
So we've actually finished our tour. What I'd like to do, I hope you've all enjoyed it. Oh, what a good shot. That's a great shot of the gallery. You see, that is beautiful. Sometimes I think with the iPhone, it does wash out, but Daniel, you did a great job touring the show. So thank you very much. But
Yeah.
I'd like to open it up. If anyone has any questions, we can do that right now. Just use the question answer function at the bottom of the screen, and we'll be able to answer you. So if there's any questions.
Kudos to Daniel. Stellar job on the tour from Trish.
Okay. Thank you,
Patricia says, this has been brilliant. I so miss visiting the gallery. Thank you all so much. And then I'm going to go to the question and answer here and see if we've got anything.
Oh.
Here's something from Jonathan. Sandra, do you see that one?
I don't see it, but I'm not using my computer. Let me see if
Okay, can I read it to you?
Please do, yes.
Okay. Your team has definitely pushed the art of glass a lot in terms of size and placement. Is there anything you've always wanted to do with glass that pushes the limits even further and are just waiting on technology or science of the material to catch up with? Oh, yes. Dale has all sorts of ideas. Some with light mapping that he tested, which he actually wants to put light and trace and map throughout his sculpture. He's also working on some big installations for private individuals for their sculpture park. So we could talk about the Fred and Pamela Buffett Cancer Research Center and that being developed. But there's always lots of new ideas coming through. And for you, Sandra, there's a question from Carrie. What year were the purple Persians on the wall blown?
So Carrie, those were just made in 2019, especially for this exhibition. So I mentioned at the beginning that Dale made two special pieces expressly for the gallery. One was the green Persian tower and the violet Persians on the back wall. And that was the wall that we had made so that he could hang those pieces. That wall didn't exist before this exhibition.
Which Daniel is showing you right now. And then Nancy earlier was asking about the derivation of the name Pilchuck, and you know the answer to that, right?
No, well, I don't actually. It's interesting. I would think it's probably a native name, but I can't be certain.
You're correct.
That's what okay.
Yep, that's exactly. And it's the Pilchuck Mountains and Pilchuck area. And it does come, I don't know which native tribe it is. You represent one of the native, you represent Dan Friday, don't you?
I do represent Dan Friday. And I represent Preston Singletary, who was involved in building the totem pole. He didn't really carve it, but he was very involved in placing that totem pole. And Greg has a question, I see.
Okay.
How has your inspiration changed during the COVID era?
I think that was for Dale.
For
and
Dale,
I missed it.
yes. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that one.
I think he really, in the beginning, he really liked to draw and keep busy. He still goes in, but stays very isolated from the rest of the team. Some of us work pretty exclusively from home, myself included, just to be safe during the pandemic. But he's been catching up on movies, and he's also been rewatching things, but he's also still been noodling around and drawing and coming up with ideas. He's in the hot shop and swimming every day as well.
Oh, well, if I had his swimming pool, I would swim every day too. And I know his favorite TV show is The Sopranos.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. So are there other questions? I'm not able to operate this computer to see if there is anything else, Susan.
I don't think there's anything else here.
Okay.
If anybody has any last questions. Oh,
I'm just going to chime in for a moment to let everyone know there's a fantastic article on Dale and Sandra's relationship in today's Toronto Star. So if you get the Star, that is in the entertainment section, or you can go on to their website as well.
Thank you, Daniel.
And there's two last minute questions. Patricia was hoping you'll be sending a catalog.
Yes.
Do you want to tell everybody how to do that?
If Patricia would like a catalog, could you please just send an email to the gallery, Patricia, with your address, or we'll get back to you if we don't have your address. And anyone else that would like a catalog, please just write us at contact@sandraainsleyggallery.com, and we're happy to send you either a printed catalog, we have a digital online catalog, and of course, we're happy to send out a price list to anyone. And as I mentioned earlier, we'd love you to come to see the exhibition. During COVID, we're respecting all of the COVID rules, and we're hoping to just see people by appointment, and of course, wearing masks. But the gallery is very large, as you can see, and spacious, so there's more than enough room to social distance. But we would like to keep the numbers to just 2 people at a time. We're trying to do private appointments.
I think that's great.
And I hope we see you. I hope we see you, because the show looks beautiful online, but in person, it really is a wow. Really looks wonderful.
And especially in your space, Sandra. And I just want to thank you and Daniel and Adrian and your whole staff of how much support you've been to the studio, to myself. And it's been such a blast working on this and to see it come out so exquisitely. and the response of all of you. I know some of you have dropped off, but thank you for hanging in till the bitter end here. I know it was a little bit longer than we anticipated, but we had a great surprise. I didn't even know Dale was going to show up. You never know when he's going to show up. So that was really fun. There's a couple thank yous from Jerry and Poulin and Ellen and Patricia. And then Donald Robertson was asking who's the next artist Dale is hoping to collaborate with. I have no clue. But he does love his collaboration works in the show. I do as well.
Okay, well, thank you. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you all very much for being here. And I think I've now lost everybody.
No, you're there.
My screen, I don't know. I'm the least computer literate person in the gallery. So I now have been asked to join a Zoom. That's what my screen is saying to me. So I'm going to say goodnight. And does anyone else have anything to say? Daniel, Adrian, Susan?
No, thank you so much. It's been
Thank
wonderful.
you. It was
Have
a
wonderful
pleasure.
weekend.
And
Bye, everyone.
okay, bye.